Places. Places. Did you hear that?
Heck yeah!
You are listening to Calling Out Controversy, the new political and economic talk show that's taking over the information station where you'll never know what you'll hear next. It's 88.3 FM, WVCR The Saint. Now let's focus up, because here's Nicole Commisso and Andrew Hecht with this week's topic.
Hey, you guys, this is Nicole Commisso, and you are listening to Calling Out Controversy. Today, Andrew is actually sick, so we have...
Hello, everybody. I'm Sky Arnold, host of the day show, The Brunch Club, and the night show, The Alt Show, covering for Andrew tonight.
We have Sky here today, and we're so excited.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Thank you for coming on and filling in. So you are a freshman here at Siena.
Yes, that is correct.
How has your experience been so far, just in general?
In general, definitely. I mean, you may think I have to say this because I'm on the radio, but saying it from the bottom of my heart, I'd go to Siena again and again if given the choice. I love it here.
I always say the same thing.
Yep, I'm happy here. I love it here. I've got great friends. I've got great professors. The programs here are awesome. The campus is beautiful. I can't say enough about Siena College as it is. So overall, definitely my freshman experience has been great. Now that we're on the home stretch of it, actually.
Right. I was going to say you're almost finished up with your
almost
freshman
a month.
year. So if you had to say where you are on the political spectrum, where do you think you are? Because I know you're part of Republican Club.
Yep. I'm the secretary of Republican Club here on campus. So obviously I'm right-leaning on most things. I am left-leaning on a couple things, but generally I am a Republican.
Right. So how do you think you've been your first year here as a Republican or conservative on, a mainly liberal campus?
Yes. I think the liberal campus, it's important to point out that's not just a Siena thing. That's everywhere.
Oh, right.
I think most
in higher education, most colleges are absolutely 100% more liberal, leftist leaning.
Yes, of course. So I think my experience as a Republican has been overall pretty positive, especially since I found the Republican Club. I found my niche. We have other clubs like Turning Point USA, Young Americans for Liberty. There's definitely a lot of options for Republican students to get out there.
Equally minded people that you could toss around the ideas where you feel similar. But I mean, you could say too that in Republican Club, we definitely don't all agree, which is really great.
Yeah.
Like most people would think like, they all get together and they're all Republican and they all have similar mindset. But
yeah, it's like somebody said to me, like, what do you guys talk about Republican Club if you all agree on everything? It's like, well, it's not really like that.
Right.
I mean, there's almost different levels of Republican, if you will, because again, not all of us are right-leaning on everything. Like me, like I said before, I'm left-leaning on a couple things. So when we talk about those subjects in Republican Club, that brings up debates within the club.
Right. It's not this, certain
like this ideal almost. There's not like this set
You're not
ideal.
stuck in a box just because you're a Republican or a conservative, which I think is definitely something that people. It's a misconception of on Republican students.
For sure.
But so let's talk freshman sem because that's like my favorite thing in most colleges. So it's not just Siena College. A decent amount of colleges have a freshman course that all freshmen have to take and have to, pass to graduate. And a lot of them are leftist centered, if you will, because a lot of them focus
politically
on
charged,
political, social, controversial issues.
Yes.
And my biggest problem with freshman seminar in general is that sometimes with leftist professors, they tend to preach rather than teach. And that's definitely not always the case. For me personally, I had an awesome freshman year sem professor who definitely let us have more of an opinion than some professors that I know here at the school. So what's your take?
Okay, at least for me, my freshman seminar, I have a great professor, Suzanne Allegretti. She's amazing. The topic of the course is exploring death to save your life, which I know sounds really cryptic, but just hear me out. It's teaching you how to live your life to the fullest. So, like, when it's actually your time to pass on, like, you're like, I had a good life and I know how to handle it. So I think it's a great class. It sounds really cryptic, but it's actually really good. We haven't really gotten too political in the class for sure. There's a lot of political discrepancies. I don't know if that's the best word to use, but discrepancies in opinions when we do get political sometimes. But we try not to talk politics a lot because it doesn't really relate to our course, if you will.
So you said that you've gotten political a few times.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of the times?
Oh, of course. Yeah. One of them was actually,
it
was I had a negative experience with this one. So were you there when Tim Wise came and spoke?
Yes, I remember. I do remember, yes.
Yep. So I want to say a month or two ago here at Siena College, an author named Tim Wise, who's like a speaker and a writer about racism in America and all that jazz, he came to Siena to talk about Martin Luther King.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah,
this.
And most of the freshman seminars, the class I'm in, had to go. Regardless of what your topic was, you had to go.
Right, because in freshman sem, sometimes the professors, they require you to go to certain out-of-class things. Right?
So the majority of the class of 2022 was there. So this guy, he mentioned Martin Luther King, I want to say twice, in what was supposed to be a theme talk. It basically just went on and on about how white people suck and how we're racist and how Trump sucks and everything. And Dominic, like you said, the vice president of the Republican Club here at Siena, who's also one of my best friends, asked him a question.
He's also a writer for Liberty Den University, which you can find on Facebook at Liberty Den University, and he writes awesome pieces.
Yes, he does.
Right, so Dom asked Tim Wise a question.
Yes, he asked Tim Wise a question. I don't remember exactly what the wording was, but it's basically like he mentioned how Tim Wise sometimes like we use subconscious bias against people. So Dom asked Tim Wise, what do we do about subconscious bias if it's subconscious? Because we're not really doing it thinking about that we're doing it.
It's uncontrollable.
It's uncontrollable.
So what do we do if we can't control it?
Exactly. So what Tim Wise did was he kind of went on like a 5-minute story that we were like, okay, that's fair. But then after Dom sat down, he sat down right next to me. We looked at each other and he was like, that didn't answer the question at all.
He probably didn't even address it.
Yeah, he dodged the question. So, and that's something I noticed that Mr. Wise did with a lot of the other questions was you asked him something, and then he went like a 5-minute spiel about something that made you think it was answering the question.
Like danced around it.
Yes, exactly. He danced around it, and then after you sat back down in your chair, you were like, oh, wait, he didn't answer my question at all. So returning to first-year seminar, what we talked about in class was we were just giving our overall opinions. And here's what I said. I was like, I'm not trying to offend anybody, so I'm just trying to keep it neutral. But I didn't like how Mr. Wise disrespected President Trump a lot during his speech. Here's why. Now, you can all have your opinions about Trump. That's okay. I think that the Republican Party could have done a better job. I'm a Republican, but I think definitely of all the people in America that are of that party, we could have gotten somebody better. That's just my opinion. You can think what you want. But I said, if you're going to give a talk to a group of college students, young adults, you should respect the position. You don't have to go out of your way to disrespect himself, but at least show the position of authority some respect. And boy, Nicole, oh my God.
It was students in your class?
Yeah, so as soon as I said that, 4 hands shot up, literally just like that.
That happens to me all the time.
I just snapped my fingers, and they went up like that, and I was like, "Oh God, here we go."
Oh no, they're coming after me. I'm public enemy number 1.
Yep. So I felt bad. I don't remember what the first girl said about it, but she was just kind of said how she disagrees and how she thinks Trump sucks and blah 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 blah. But that wasn't my point. That was not the point. The point wasn't.
It really had nothing to do with Trump. It just had to do with you should have some sort of respect for the president of the United States.
Yes. Precisely. That's exactly what I was trying to get at.
And think about it, too. I mean, if, say, a conservative speaker came on campus, which really doesn't happen, quite frankly, unless we make it happen, and, all of the freshman students had to go to a talk and say they bashed President Obama, do you think that would have ever happened at Siena College?
No way.
Absolutely not.
No way.
So, I mean, that's just the reality of it and the double standard. But
for sure.
Right. So, do you think that your opinion was respected or completely not?
I think it could have been and it might not have been. I'll let you decide. So This one girl, she kind of just said how, I just told you what she said. She didn't agree with what I said at all. And then the next girl, she was like, at least for me, she's an African-American girl, the next person who spoke against what I said. She was like, well, Trump has bashed women and African-Americans, so he does not deserve my personal respect. I can understand that. I'll give her credit for that. That's pretty fair. But again, I was like, no, you guys just missed my point completely. Missed the point absolutely 100% completely.
Plus, I mean, in my opinion, too, what does President Trump really have to do with Martin Luther King Day at all? If that was what Tim Wise's talk was supposed to be about, I feel like a lot of leftist-leaning professors, even in the, world of Hollywood and comedians nowadays, like, everybody has taken a shot at Trump, and that's literally how they're making their livelihood.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I
exactly.
feel like Trump and making fun of Trump and bashing Trump has literally become the center of everybody's universe, which is actually kind of pathetic, in my opinion. Like, that's like, don't you have anything better to do? I mean, it's 2019. We're approaching 2020.
We're approaching the Roaring 20s round 2. So
exactly.
It's like,
so it's like he's kind of been there for a while. You really still are talking about the same exact thing. Like, I think it's time to pull up your pants and get over it.
Yeah, and at least in my experience, again, it's like, like it or not, he's the president. So you should at least show the president some respect. You may not like what he's doing, but again, that's not what my point was in class. He is the president.
Right.
So then after these two girls spoke out against what I said, I felt personally attacked. I know that might sound silly, but I was like, okay, like it seems like what I said was not taken the right way.
Well, so especially when you're the only one in the room that, I mean, you may not have been the only one in the room that feels that way, but you were the only one in the room that said something. Right. Which honestly, and I give you so much credit for that, and you should be proud of that, because you know what? And I've always said this, because I am usually the silent majority that isn't silent, and I'm the one that usually speaks out, especially about issues like this. And you talk about the opinion that you have that a lot of people don't have or don't want to hear. And a lot of other people in class probably feel the same way that you do, but won't say it out loud. So good for you.
Thank you. I raised my hand and I was like, okay, everybody, like, I just want to make sure everybody understood what I meant.
Like,
and
let me be clear.
Yes,
here.
like, I quickly reiterated, because I was like, I feel like it was misinterpreted by a few people in the class, and I made sure not to look in the direction of the two girls.
In your mouth,
yeah, like, I don't want you guys to put words in my mouth, and I was like, I just feel like mentioning Trump was unnecessary, and disrespecting him was unnecessary, because the president is the president, and he or she deserves respect.
Right.
At least, I mean, again, like, you can think what you want on that, but especially when you're supposed to be putting on an example for a group of young college students who
are susceptible to, you know, thinking that someone talking in a higher position of power is right, and they're preaching instead of teaching.
Exactly. And I mean, obviously, you might think this too. I think Dominic DiCarlo is going to be president someday. I genuinely think that. So
Dominic is a very impressive young man.
He is. So I was like, you know, Tim Wise might be speaking to this group of college students, and the future president might be sitting right before him. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Not specific to
saying.
Dom, but just anybody in a general sense. Like, Tim Wise goes to high schools and colleges all around the country. You have to imagine he's talked to at least one future president, right?
Exactly. And he's a person in power, and he's spewing his opinion.
Exactly. It's just, I don't know. So overall, I've had a positive experience here as a freshman, but that one part, so we try not to talk about politics anymore.
Right.
We have to do
which is sad, you know? It's sad.
Yeah, we have to do the white privilege survey soon in seminar, because it's required by the classes.
I can't wait for you to tell me about that.
And I'd rather us not talk about it. And our professor actually wanted us to talk about something political last week, and I raised my hand and I was like, Professor, and she goes, yes, Guy. And I go, all due respect, I know that this is your class and I am not the teacher, but I feel like nobody wants to talk about politics because we'd rather all get along.
You don't want to be divided.
Yes, and everybody just kind of looked at me and subtly nodded. Nobody else said a word, and she goes, that's fair, and she dropped it. Like, I mean, I don't think, nobody else seemed to think that was disrespectful. I mean, looking back on it, maybe a little bit. But our professor didn't really seem to care, because everybody agreed with me. So I was like, okay, that's fair. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, white privilege is a big one. So
definitely.
And it divides a lot of people. And I know that, you know, obviously here at Siena, the least, you know, the unpopular opinion is that white privilege is a false notion, and that, you know, white privilege isn't real, which is my stance on it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I got so much backlash, and I've talked on the show about it before, but, you know, hold your ground, speak whatever you believe, and, you know, don't be afraid to talk, which obviously you don't seem that you are.
It depends. Usually I'll keep quiet, but like at that point it was just like, you know what, whatever, nothing to lose. All right. Well, you think it's time for a break? We're about halfway through.
I do. All right. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back calling out controversy. Thanks so much. Hey, you guys, this is Nicole Commisso.
Hello, I'm Skylar Arnold.
Filling in for Andrew today on Calling Out Controversy. So the next topic we are going to talk about is toxic masculinity. Now,
oh boy.
So if you've never heard of toxic masculinity, which is quite normal because it's quite new, the definition is that it's one ways in which the, you know, very harmful patriarchy is to men and to women, and it refers to the new social construct that describes the masculine gender role as violent, unemotional, sexually aggressive, and so on and so forth. So basically, toxic masculinity is the new, theme that has come out with the Me Too movement and, the survivors believe all survivors type thing. We saw it roll out during the Kavanaugh hearings when they were saying, boys will be boys, and that's not okay to say. And so recently at Siena College, that Damietta just sponsored this discussion. Now, we have to be careful because we have to say discussion and not debate, which is a whole other problem that I have. I don't understand why, everyone freaks out when I want to call it a debate and it's a discussion, but whatever. I was under the impression that debate meant the, exchanging of ideas and trying to use rhetoric to persuade one way or another, but we'll call it a discussion.
It's a discussion.
That's what they want me to do. And they snap instead of clap because clapping is offensive as well.
How is clapping offensive?
I have no idea, Sky, but
okay. I'm genuinely confused now.
And
but okay.
So, fight the patriarchy. I'm just kidding. But so basically they had this discussion about toxic masculinity, and they go through their little presentation, and they showed the new Gillette commercial.
Oh, boy.
About how, boys will be boys, will be boys, will be boys, and they're freaking out about how powerful, masculine men are really, really bad for society.
Okay. My initial thoughts, you and I are both in the School of Business here at Siena. Excellent program. I don't see why Gillette took that liberty upon themselves, because I remember I saw the commercial once about 2 months ago, so its memory's a little bit fuzzy in my brain, if you will, but I don't think they even mentioned, they're a shaving company. If anybody's unsure, they are a shaving company.
Exactly. What kind of marketing department do they have if they don't even have people shaving in their commercial? I think that they were shaving for 2 seconds, but it had nothing to do with their product. So yes.
Exactly. So that's my first question.
It was obviously a huge, agenda, if you will.
Yeah, toxic masculinity is definitely, it's a very complicated topic.
What I don't like is, and at this discussion we had the other night, which a bunch of Siena students were there, Brother George was there, and we talked about it, but I basically raised my hand and I said, this is all ridiculous to me. I think this is absolutely ridiculous that we are, for one, shaming men who are quote unquote manly and shaming people who are raising their boys who will be men to be protectors and to be, quote unquote masculine. I don't think we should be shaming that. And and the other side of the coin this is the other issue with toxic masculinity, is that there are 2 lanes. So the one lane is that, toxic masculinity doesn't allow men to have feelings and to have emotions and to be able to cry and to be able to not be manly and jacked and however you want to take it. And then the other side of the coin is that toxic masculinity also, you can't be overly confident, overly manly, overly competitive, overly controlling, overly dominant. And then they somehow slither in sexual assault against women, which is just because a guy is manly, overly competent, has control, and is competitive, that means that he assaults women. That's disgusting.
Yeah, that's stupid to me.
What kind of world do we live in that's how it is?
And at least for me, this might sound silly coming from a woman, but just playing, for lack of a better term, just playing devil's advocate here.
Right.
I feel bad for men in 2019. I genuinely feel bad for them.
So do I.
I feel bad because they can't do anything without being judged. They cannot win.
Right.
They literally can't win. If they try to be the protector, I guess, of their house or something, they're toxic masculinity.
Right.
But if they don't do anything, they're lazy and they don't care. There's where's the line?
Especially white men in our society don't even have a chance anymore because it's you are so privileged that you need to sit down and take a step back.
I feel bad. I genuinely feel bad for men. Somebody at a different school of my one of my friends go to, they were talking about a men's rights club, which I was like, whatever, if that's what you want to do, then do it. But my first question was, what rights do men not have?
Right.
Especially white men. Now, as a woman, the flip side of that, I feel like as a woman, I'm not missing out on any rights men have.
I completely agree with you.
I don't think there's any rights I don't have.
No. you could do every single thing that a man can do.
Actually, if anything, I have the upper hand because I'm a woman because of toxic masculinity.
Right, because of all these terms that they're coming up with to make everybody else feel bad.
Yeah, if anything, I have the upper hand as a woman. And it said on the article that I was looking at before I came in today, oh shoot, where did it go? That men started the term toxic masculinity. That wasn't even the feminists or the left who did that. It was men themselves. It was inspired by the feminist movement that had done so much to unpack what might be called toxic femininity. Ooh, try saying that 5 times fast.
Toxic femininity.
Oh, jeez. Ugh. And then after the good work feminism did to try and find better ways to teach girls about their options, men began to take notice and apply those same gender construct theories to their own experience. That's from tolerance.org. So
basically, I think it's ridiculous because, I mean, obviously it's 2019. We're living in America. If you want to cry, whether you're a boy or a girl, you can cry.
You can show your emotion.
Are people going to judge you? Listen, people judge you no matter what you do.
And it's just like, don't care.
Right.
I don't care.
And a lot of these topics all go back to where and how you were raised. So if your parents taught you a certain way of living, and you have, a hard shell and you can overcome struggles, you're going to be okay. And you know what? It goes into the whole bullying aspect too. Well, men that aren't manly in high school get bullied, this and that. And I'm not saying that bullying is okay. Trust me. Like, let me just state the record. I am not saying bullying is okay at all. I think a lot of high schools have really combated bullying in a decent way, to be honest. I know that my high school has.
Yeah, me too.
But everybody has certain struggles in life, whether they're big or small. And the only way to grow as a person is to have struggles. You know what I mean? You're supposed to be taught, stand up to the bully. And you should stand up to the bully. And I feel like a lot of these terms are giving excuse to not stick up for yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I just feel like, a lot of the times, all of these conversations go to, well, sometimes I just feel, and it's very all feelings. And I feel like we need to look at the facts. And
you need to look at the logic
first.
Yes,
we need to look at the logic, and we need to say, you know what? Let's stick up for ourselves. And even in the Gillette commercial, going back to it, there's this part in the commercial where, it's a business setting. Like, we're both business majors. It's a business setting. There's a big business table, and it's all men sitting around the table, and there's one woman. Of course, that's how they're going to stage the part of the commercial.
Oh, well, naturally.
Right. And so there's one man standing at the head of the table, and the rest of them are sitting, and the woman is to his right. And he says, well, Janet, or whatever his name is, I'm paraphrasing. Well, Janet, let me tell everyone what I think you meant to say. And then they zoom in on the woman's face, and she's like, wah, wah, like looks at the ground like, oh, again, they, didn't let me speak. And
they walked all over me.
And it's like, I have an idea. Why don't, in that commercial, we make the woman say, you know what, Charlie? That's not what I meant. This is what I meant.
Yeah, exactly.
Why are we you're making it worse. This is, the commercial is supposed to set this social agenda on how bad toxic masculinity is.
Yeah, who thought this was a good idea, by the way?
Right.
What genius thought of this?
Right. Seriously, though. And it's like, if you really think this is an issue, how about you actually make the woman turn around and say, you know what? That's not what I meant. And have her stick up for herself. What kind of message are you sending?
Yeah.
To make her go, wah, wah, wah.
Yeah,
and look down at the ground.
Yeah, I saw this little video on Facebook, too. It was you could tell it was left. I actually kind of liked it. But at one point, there was a scene, like, it was about rape and how, like, oh, shoot, what was the scene? So this one girl, she was really drunk, and this boy came on to her, and then she couldn't stop it or anything. And then it just watched all the other boys in the background watching. And I'm just like, instead of showing what the issue is, why don't you change the video to one of the boys coming over and being like, yo, dude, back off, get off her.
Right.
Like, why don't you
I feel like a lot of these things that are coming out,
common sense, being a decent person,
right? That's exactly what it is. And it's like, why do we need all these subcategories? Toxic masculinity, toxic femininity. Oh, you're too girly, you're too manly. Actually, you can do whatever you want. And if you get judged,
no one cares. I feel like no one cares.
And if somebody does care, which it does happen, you need to stick up for yourself and actually, get it together and know who you are as a person. And I'm not saying that that's an easy thing to do, but I feel like this whole victim mentality, and this is what we keep going back to, in 2019, we have things like white privilege, and we have things like toxic masculinity, and we have things like mansplaining, which is hilarious, and we were just talking about it before, but it's like this victim mentality that centers around things comes off as an excuse on why people can't get ahead, and it actually, in my opinion, discourages those categories of people that they, are trying to put up.
Yeah, and at least to me, like, it's just silly. Don't be the victim.
Right.
Especially me, like,
and there are jerks.
Yeah, like,
there are jerks in life. That is what it is. Like,
that is life. There are going to be people. One of the hardest issues, or one of the hardest pills for me to swallow as an 18-year-old, and I guess, like, it's something we're all working on things, is, like, there's always going to be people out there who don't like me no
100%.
matter what I do.
100%.
Now, I'm, like, I would consider myself to be popular, but not in the stereotypical, like, Mean Girls, Clueless, those kind of movies way. Like, I have a lot of friends.
You surround yourself with friends.
Yes, I have a lot of friends, but, like, there's always going to be people that don't like me no matter what I do, and there is nothing I can do about that.
Right, you just have to be yourself.
Yeah, I think that's actually one of the biggest things I've accepted over freshman year. Is, like, I can think of 50 people on Siena College campus who like me a lot, and I can think of, without even trying, but I can think of one person that doesn't like me. And if my ratio is 50-1, I'm doing pretty good.
Right.
I'm doing pretty good.
And if that person doesn't want to be your friend or whatever, then you don't need them in your life anyway.
And I don't
Who
need
wants somebody that doesn't like them in their life?
Yeah,
not me.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't need to surround yourself with that. That's another beautiful thing about the world.
America.
Yeah, 7 billion people live in this world.
No one's forcing you to be friends with anybody.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Especially, like, once you get out of the high school age and into, like, college and the real world, like, you don't have to hang out or be around anybody you don't want to be around with.
Right.
And to me, that's actually kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
That is a good note to end on.
For sure. I would have to agree.
Thank you guys so much for listening. This is Calling Out Controversy with Nicole Commisso. And thank you so much, Sky, for filling in. We'll have to have you on again.
No problem, of course.
Especially
anytime.
after the white privilege conversation that you have in class.
100%. I'd love to come back. Thank you for having me.
Thank you guys so much.